Once again, it's
Fluency.
MC.
Fluency.
MC.
Once again, it's
Fluency.
MC.
Grammar through lyrics.
Kick it.
The microphone I take it. You shake, shook, shaking. Wake, woke it to the style I'm creating. Thought, seek, sought. Listen to the lesson that I teach, taught. Don't sleep, slept. I creep, crap. I sneak, snuck up. You leap, let. I keep, kept. Having fun. I'm never beaten. I win, won. Two, did, done. Begun. Shoot, shot. No, I don't own a gun. I lead, let, so I can feed, fed. The knowledge you need straight to your head when I bring it.
Hello there.
You catch, caught it. Sit back,
Kevin
relax.
here with another episode of the Feel Good English Podcast. Today I have an interview with Jason Levine, otherwise known as the Fluency MC. All of the hip-hop music you hear in this episode is Fluency MC's original productions. And I'm going to talk about how Jason got started with hip-hop English, and also go into why he does what he does. It's not just for fun, but it's actually a lot more effective than a lot of other teaching styles. And he goes into why using rhythm and rhyme is so effective for English learning. And as usual, I'll end the episode and talk a little bit about what Jason has been struggling with in his life recently, to give you all some perspective on him as a real person, not just the Fluency MC who is conquering the world with his hip-hop English. If you want a transcript to this episode, I will put it up on my website for free. Because Jason was on a phone, traveling on a train during this interview, his voice can be a little difficult to understand. So, go get that transcript for free and you can read everything he says, which is a great challenge for you. So head on over to feelgoodenglish.com/fluencymc to get your transcript for free, so you can see all of the English we use here, him and me. Get that free transcript and pump up your telephone English skills. So let's get into the groovy interview with Fluency MC Jason Levine.
The ball, it's your turn to grow with the verbs that you've learned. Grammar through lyrics, I drawn. Peace to ELLs, now I go when gone.
So here I am with Jason, the Fluency MC, the hip-hop English teacher. How you doing, Jason? What's up?
I'm doing well, and thanks a lot, Kevin.
And thank you for being here. Where are you right now in this big, wide world?
I'm traveling south in Italy, down to the Italy, to a school there in a student workshop tomorrow. And I've been traveling this week to meet with English students in big groups to practice English with the music and videos I made.
Really cool. So you travel around Europe, kind of sharing your English teaching style. Is that what you do?
Yeah, I'm really lucky to have this opportunity, and I've been doing it more often now, closer to home. I live in Paris with my family, so I've been doing more work in France and Belgium, so I can try to, leave in the morning and come back at night if I can.
Sure. So it doesn't sound like being in the boot of Italy, you're going to make it home tonight, huh?
No, I mean, it's really exciting for me to travel like this, but it can be tough on my family.
So tell me about yourself. You are a very unique English teacher, I'd say, and that's why I really wanted to connect with you. When did you get started with English teaching, and how did that... So 2 questions. When did you get started, and how did that go into you having this very cool style of teaching English through rapping and teaching English through music?
Well, I started teaching English in 1998 in New York City. I taught immigrants, foreign students, and from the beginning, I like teaching with music. I think most language teachers enjoy using music in the classroom. But I didn't start writing my own songs until about a decade later. And what inspired me was several things. So first, more than anything else, I was a hip-hop DJ. I grew up with this. So being able to take the passion I have for hip-hop and connect it with the passion I have for English teaching, it's obvious, but actually what really inspired me more than that was the need for my students to get repetitive practice with the target language from the lessons. Because, the biggest problem that I face, and I think every English teacher faces, is, how to get lessons into the student's head so that they're able to use it in activities and also in the real world. So, how to do that repetitive practice in a way that's interesting, motivating, inspires them to want to do more. So, I saw my students learn quickly through songs, and then a lot of things started connecting. Oh, I know hip-hop music. We're in New York City, where hip-hop started and thrives. And also, hip-hop is truly international. So my students, whether they were from Russia, Turkey, Brazil, Korea, they all knew this music. They all knew this culture. And their teachers, the DJs. So I thought, hey, I could do this.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I think, like you said, one of the hardest things is to get students to grasp this concept of repetition. You need to see the same thing over and over. In practice, it's actually not that hard. One thing I find a lot is a lot of students think you have to live in another country. You have to live in an English-speaking country to really get good at the language. But I totally disagree with that. If you can find ways to make the language repetitive in your day and being consistent with it and hearing the same things over and over. Because when you're living in a country, learning that language that the country speaks, basically what you're doing is you're hearing the same things over and over and over, which helps you pick that up, and then you get to practice a lot. But there's tons of repetition just naturally when you live in a foreign country learning a foreign language. So what you're doing is it's creating these kind of almost immersion techniques by bringing out the music and letting people have this method of making English real in their lives.
I love the way you said that about it being like immersion, because actually what you just said, there are many things that it made me think of. So one thing is, you're right about living in another country is not necessarily going to make it happen for you. And one of the reasons is you mentioned that if you are immersed in English in a country, you will get some repetitive practice. But in fact, what happens more often is people think this will happen. They go to another country, and what happens is outside is input that's too difficult most of the time. And they're not getting enough repetitive practice. So irregular verbs is a great example. And that's my most popular song and video. So when you're a child in your first language is English, then you're getting enough repetitive practice. Input and practice. But if you're living as a young adult or an adult in another country, you are not going to get the type of repetitive input and practice with regular verbs, because it's going to be in the context of language that's difficult most of the time. So, what I'm doing, some people say, well, fluency in speech song, it's not natural because we don't say I took taken the bus. Well, that's right, we don't. But the whole point is a native speaker, if you go up to a native speaker, you say take, took, taken, bring, blank, blank, don't say brought. Because it's stored up in our heads. And that's what I'm trying to do with students. How those lists, with the dare infinitive collocations or adjectives plus prepositions or whatever it is, those lists that we have in our heads when we need to use them. And I don't mean they're organized as lists, but they're there to access. That can't come from just studying and repeating a list. So rhythm and rhyme, as you mentioned, helps so much in our retention of vocabulary, and we're motivated to repeat songs. It's funny, you said, and I agree with you, of course, it's not natural, it's boring, to repeat things, but songs, we repeat. And in this way, what I'm doing is nothing new. People have been using this approach for forever. learning through songs and music. I think what's different is, pop songs, particularly hip hop songs, can be that same problem of input being too difficult. At the same time, songs in textbooks, unless you're talking about little children, songs in textbooks tend to be childish and boring for older learners. So that's where, I came in with this idea of, writing a song that an adolescent or adult will want to repeat naturally, not because they've been told they have to repeat it.
It's Fluency MC. Have a party, have fun, have a cold, have a problem, have good weather, have a get together, have a test, have trouble, have friends, have plans, have a good time.
You have it in.
Let's have a party and have fun. We'll have a blast. You'll have good memories of Colo class. You can have a problem that doesn't last, like when you have a cold, but get over it fast. You can have a test or have a paper to write and have trouble falling asleep at night. You can have a bite of some delicious food. Don't have a frown on your face. Get out of your bad mood.
Have a party, have fun, have a cold, have a problem, have good weather, have a get together, have a test, have trouble, have friends, have plans, have a good time. You have it in you.
When you have friends, you have the chance to have a great weekend. You can have plans to have a get-together. If you have good weather, you can have a picnic in the park
or wherever.
Have a few laughs, have a good time. Have conversations on the grass in the sunshine. Having sips of pink lemonade. Have an afternoon nap in the nice cool shade. If you have kids, you can bring them too. Have a softball game.
Have a family barbecue.
You have it in you. Have success, have a dream, have self-esteem, have determination, have an education, have goals, skills, experience, and patience. Have no fear.
You have it in you.
So to bring me through like a typical session, so you're traveling around Europe, you're giving these workshops. Can you kind of explain how this would work? So let's say you arrive into a classroom or into an auditorium. What goes down?
Yeah, so it's generally auditoriums. It's usually big groups, minimum 100, sometimes up to 300 or even more, depending on the size of the auditorium, of the theater. And it's really a show, an interactive show, very interactive. I would say, best way to imagine it is more like a comedian almost, who's going into the audience and going back and forth with people, but with also interspersed with videos and songs, and getting students to repeat after me or repeat after me in the video. So it's sort of I'm not the only person who has some success on YouTube doing this in different areas. Kind of like I'm able to do this because I recognize people, students have seen the videos, so there's these expectations, this guy's coming, and so it's kind of like trying to inspire them. They're already sort of inspired, luckily, from the media and how to kind of exploit that and promote those feelings I have. Do
you get nervous before a presentation?
Not at all, but I used to. My God, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I'm sure, this is such an important topic actually for your podcast, that idea of self-confidence and getting out there in front of people, using language and presenting ideas in front of people. I mean, it was really difficult at first, and just with the size of the groups, to do it with a big group, I was nervous but excited too. Now I'm just super excited.
So what kept you going? It was hard at the beginning. It was difficult at the beginning. These big groups of hundreds of little eyes looking up at you in a foreign land. What kept you going to get through those difficult times?
Definitely the students and the teachers there that just are so into it, and being able to make mistakes and feel like I'm learning from them, and not making mistakes that are so bad that they don't like what I'm doing, but realizing ways to make it better. And of course that motivates me to keep going, and then trying out the new idea, having success with it really feels good. And the other thing is, I think this will interest your listeners, is I get students to come up and rap, dance, during the show, but I don't do it by pressuring them. I basically say, anybody here breakdance? Anybody rap?
Nice.
Anybody beatbox? And because hip hop is so international, there's always somebody. There's always somebody who raps. There's always somebody who breakdances. There's always somebody who beatboxes. So some of them are reluctant to come up. It's not. It's sometimes. Occasionally someone will be like, yeah, they'll come up, but usually it's like, yeah, I do it, but I'm not sure. And so we all try to help them feel more comfortable, get them up there, and then later. They're really happy they did, and putting pictures on social media, it inspires them more. So that also helps me feel confident.
Hearing you speak here, and just thinking more and more how important it is what you're doing. One of the things I think is the biggest struggle, or I think is the biggest obstacle for language learners around the world, is thinking that English is just another school subject that they have to learn and study. And, and unless they love it, which most people don't, it's like, no, most people don't love mathematics. Some do, but it's a very small percentage. Most people don't love English. If you can bring this in and put a whole new twist on what language is, and you make it fun, and you bring in emotions, and you just, you can change their mindset about what they're doing. And that, to me, is one of the most valuable things an English teacher can do, and I think that's just so great. So yeah, cheers to you, man. I think that's wonderful. And
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I mean, I'll say that at schools in general, I notice students like you're talking about that look at it more like a subject. It's not something that they're excited about. But I also see some students who are, and in almost every case, it's not the traditional reason. The traditional reason was, they were into America or England or, something, the cultural side. What I see now, and I'm so excited, they're motivated because English is becoming more of a world language. So they see it as a way to communicate, not with Americans or British or Australian people or whatever, or to move to another country. That's not their goal. It's more, they want to understand media, songs, movies. They want to be part of the world of social media and connecting. Just a very practical skill.
Right.
Want. And that's tremendously inspiring to just see that happening. So,
Totally.
At the same time, as I said, there are students who do not feel that way. And the reason they don't feel that way is, to me, is very clear. If you have 3 hours of English a week, then of course in the classroom, then of course you're going to think about it as a subject. So the important thing is for me when I do these workshops and when I teach online and whatever I'm doing with English, that I try to help students practice out of class. And when I say practice, I don't mean a conversation partner. How can they do more with songs, blogs, with podcasts like yours? How can they get that kind of practice so that they're more interested in, it's not as a subject, but as a way that can help and connect them.
Yeah, and kind of, and how I look at it is like open up their world and open up their minds. And these days, it's just the way the world works. Is we do this online through English. English I think is like 80% of the internet or something like that. So you're talking, this huge world out there that is current and is what we have, and to be able to tap into that, to be able to connect with that, you just have to know English these days. So that's my inspiration as well, is bringing the world to people and showing them, helping them become more self-aware and finding what they like and what inspires them and what's interesting to them. And if they can do that through English learning, which basically means just, finding content and finding things that makes them who they are, which often is in English, that's my goal. That's my objective. And it sounds like you're on the same path.
I think so, and I don't know if you've talked about this before in your show. If you haven't, I'm sure you will be a lot. It's the whole idea of identity. If you speaking another language, learning about other cultures, this is a way that's kind of like acting. It's a way to experiment, figure out things about your identity. don't have to stop being who you are in your first language and culture. On the contrary, you're stepping outside of that in a way that can be very liberating and very inspiring. So it's way beyond just language learning at that point. And I think identity development. And I think, what I see happening with English being less about going to the States or Britain or learning about, American sports or something or British, customs. That's not what these students are interested in. Yeah, I'm American. Sometimes they have questions about it, but they're not so excited about me being American. They're excited about being able to understand English with me and being able to, have this interaction in this language. That's what's really exciting.
I ask my guests on the show to share something that they struggle with in their lives currently. It could be through business, could be through life. We all go through difficulties, and if we can figure out ways to get over these difficulties and persevere and learn strategies and connect with other people that have been through what we've been through, we can always just keep moving forward. So Jason, is there something now in your life that's kind of creating a bit of a struggle with you?
Yeah, it's really been tough being on the road a lot. As exciting as it is to go to these schools, rewarding professionally, trying to balance with family life back in Paris has been tough. It's getting a little bit easier because I'm getting more work closer to home. But for me, what's hard is I love spending time with my wife and kids. It's not that I prefer working more. It's just when I work, I get too obsessed with it. I'm a workaholic. I like to think in a positive way. I get a lot of energy from the creative side of it. But sometimes it can be hard for me to know when to stop and how to balance the time I have.
Sure. So do you have any ideas on how you can create more of a balance between work and family life?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've learned the hard way a bit in the last year. But I would say really needing to number one, recognize that, and this is true of any problem, recognize that it is a problem. So for a while, really hard thing was I didn't notice how much of a problem. Once I was more aware of what was going on, how to balance it. A lot of communication, opening communication, especially with my wife. Not being afraid to ask, am I working too much? Or, and really having to kind of remind myself of the limit, being in social media, scheduling things, being able to say no when somebody asks you to do something.
Yeah, that's something we often have to work on, is the ability to say no to people and to say no to projects. Mm-hmm. But like you said, recognition is the first step, seeing that you are not where you want to be. And then with time, figuring out how that could work. Maybe you can, maybe in a few years you can start a whole rap group with your family and you guys can travel around as a full performance group. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here and doing something that can really connect us all around the world. And you're doing something that is so valuable. And I thank you for being here. So people listening to this, where can they find you online and figure out more and find more about what you're doing?
First of all, Kevin, thank you for the kind words. And, I really think that you and others making podcasts that are helping English learners through topics and subjects that are just, more intrinsically interesting is so valuable. So I'm really glad we could connect. And, yeah, for your listeners, the easiest thing is fluencyMC.com. So I have a website with just my name, fluencyMC.com. From there's all the social media. Please connect with me on YouTube if you like subscribing to channels. Subscribe, Facebook page, Instagram. I'm there a lot. But the website be the best place. And also there's a contact form, which is just a direct email to me. And I respond to every email I get. So, especially from English learners and teachers too. Please reach out. Anybody who's interested, and it'd be great to meet some of your listeners, your followers.
Awesome, man. Thanks again. Keep moving along, and we will talk again soon.
I hope so, man. Thank you for this chance to meet your listeners.
Once again, I want to thank Jason Levine, the Fluency MC, for being here on the Feel Good English podcast. Go on over to Jason's site, fluencymc.com. Get his free songbook. Look at all the other great resources he has there. I'm a big music fan myself and had so much fun making this episode. Again, to get the transcript, the full transcript of the interview, go to feelgoodenglish.com/fluencymc. I'll make a deal. You give me your email, I'll give you the transcript. That's a pretty good deal. See you on over there, and until then, keep rocking, keep smiling, keep grooving. See you next time.